Live here at the Detroit Regional Chamber Policy Conference. I call them the Dream Team, Rossman and Truscott, Truscott-Rossman. Which way is it?
Well, it depends on who you ask when, but
Okay.
it's Truscott-Rossman officially.
Truscott-Rossman officially. Well, officially, you've now been voted once again the most effective public relations firm in the state. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
On that. That's pretty good.
It's a pretty big honor. I mean, we're thrilled with it. And as
say
I
so.
said in the article that you have there, this is from the people that we work with that know our work, that know us, and so when your peers, your colleagues rate you number one, that's pretty gratifying.
Yeah, it's like the Academy Awards.
Well, it just also means that we have to keep working that hard because once you're number one, you really don't want to lose the spot.
No, you got to hold on tight. I want to read this to you. This is in the Detroiter magazine that was published all over the island here in advance of this event because you are PR professionals. And the question at the top of the page is, why do you think it's important for media to attend and cover the conference?
For
Did you read this?
media to attend?
This is what it says, yes.
Yeah.
Why is it important for media? And they asked a couple people. They asked me and some others, but Nolan Finley's the one I was interested in his answer. Are you ready for this? This is Nolan's answer about why it's important for the media. 2 reasons for a journalist to cover the Detroit Regional Chamber Policy Conference. Just about every newsmaker in the state will be there, and for 3 days, there's no place for them to hide from you. If you ration them, you'll have enough story leads to last for months. The bourbon is free, and if you time the various receptions right, you can stay pickled for 3 days without picking up a tab. If that combination doesn't send a tingle down your leg, you've got no business in this business.
Oh, I think he nailed it. And Nolan Finley, editorial editor of the Detroit News,
Yeah.
I think he nailed it in so many ways. It's the confluence of policymakers, business leaders, and the media. I think it is absolutely a must-attend event.
And I think this time it's probably a little bit different than it's been in recent years, at least, because you have the governor really driving an agenda and using this conference to keep pushing that agenda with the legislature. And I don't think we've seen that kind of effectiveness. The bridge issue, I wouldn't be surprised to see some other issues that even, education and things like that are all part of the near-term agenda. And he's really using this conference to drive that message and to ask the attendees to lobby the legislature.
Well, and what was cool yesterday was that Bob King, UAW, addressed the group as well. He did a terrific job. And, that's like, I think he kind of laughed when he started speaking and said, apparently this is the closest I'm ever going to come to a Republican convention.
That was a great line, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. And he was very well received for the most part. I mean, I think people, expected the union of the old days, and he talked about the UAW of the 21st century. He did a terrific job.
He said something to the effect that people are watching to see if we've learned anything from the mistakes of the past.
And he made it
That's a
clear
union
they
boss
have.
saying
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, and James Hoffa was in the audience watching, which was very cool.
Yeah, neat stuff. You know what I saw yesterday that was cool? I saw Mike Bishop have Andy Dillon in a headlock at Horns Bar.
And going back to Nolan Finley's comment about the free bourbon, there you go. There are Mike and Andy on somebody's time.
What happens on the island stays on the island.
But
most
that's
cases.
interesting because I don't think a lot of people realize that they have always had a very collegial relationship. They always actually got along pretty well. I mean, just because you're the head of your party's caucus and you represent opposite partisan philosophies doesn't mean that you don't get along in person, and they have always gotten along in person.
Yeah, a year ago they were the chief combatants right here at this event, and then now a little bit of time, some new positions, and who knew they were both Republicans anyway?
I think
some people
several
knew.
people did.
The primary voters for sure.
when roles change, your responsibilities change, and the way you approach things. And that's one thing about being up on the island here is that you can throw away the partisan labels for the most part and get along. And that's one nice thing about getting everybody out of town is you're in a different setting, and it's beautiful up here, and everybody's in a more friendly atmosphere, and that does strip away some of the hard edges that typically exist on the partisanship side.
Let's bring in State Senator Burt Johnson, the Democrat from Highland Park, here in person with us. Thank you for being here.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
You're a lot closer to this bridge issue. Our stations are all everywhere but Detroit throughout the state of Michigan.
Right.
So we have people, and I asked the question the other day, why should we, I mean, you could turn on the radio here on Mackinac Island and hear this program that you're on right now. Why should we care so much about a bridge in southeastern Detroit?
There's a lot of commerce attached to it, plenty of jobs, and plenty of activity that would really excite the region, the environment. I think it would actually showcase Michigan as a state that wants to move ahead, if you will, in the 21st century. And it connects us to another country. And that's unique across the United States of America. And so people are excited for the opportunity that it brings. And,
You're in
most
favor of a new
importantly,
bridge.
I'm in favor of a bridge, but I'm not necessarily sure how we're going to get there.
Yeah.
And for us as Detroiters and largely as Democrats, what we're really concerned about is a community benefits arrangement. What happens to the people who do live in that area, and what will they undergo in terms of change, and how will it affect them?
There are people who say that we can't afford this, we don't need it.
And they may have a point. A lot of the books have to be open with respect to who's going to spend what, where the money's going to come from, what it's going to be tied to. Will it be tied to an asset that at some point, if the tolls don't prove out to pay for it, that Canada could call for the asset if that's the deal. And so I guess that's a long way of saying that there's a lot of research still to be done yet to really determine what the viability of it is, and how you raise the money to spend it.
Yeah, you say there's a lot of research still to be done, but I see that Randy Richardville says, I want to get this going one way or another. Let's get it off and stop arguing about it. I mean, it was the big issue here last year.
Well,
A year ago.
I do believe it's probably one of the last big ticket items that this governor wants to accomplish in this first year of his administration. And so I think Randy is acting in kind with respect to what the governor's trying to do.
Mm-hmm. A lot of lobbying money being spent on this
Why
issue.
is it, Senator, has it become such a controversial issue?
I
It
think,
really is.
I think you've got a major business provider in the city of Detroit who has done business for years and has owned this magnificent spectacle of a bridge. That's
Matty Maroon you're
Matty
talking
Maroon,
about,
who's done
right?
a truckload of business. And you also have the state, the state wants to make a foray into this type of arrangement, a public-private partnership, which is not uncommon around the country. In fact, it's the new trend. But maybe it's Michigan's first giant venture into something like this. And again, there's the Canada aspect of it. And so it makes for a great big issue that I don't think is like other issues that the state would have tried to undertake to this point.
What about it, John Truscott? You worked for Governor Engler, and you also ran the DeVos campaign and the Hoekstra campaign. What's left now for Governor Snyder, other than the bridge project, now that the budget is done early, first time in decades?
I think one of the things that we'll hear, and the governor started to lay it out a little bit yesterday, but education reform, specifically as it relates to the city of Detroit. I think he's going to tackle a very aggressive urban agenda, and not just urban areas, but the whole local government mix and how we can make it more efficient and work better for citizens. So, I think the bridge will come up in June. Education will be a big topic throughout the summer. And I know there are a few other. He's moving so fast; it's tough to keep up on everything.
Yeah,
But personal property tax is one that I think we'll probably see coming, around the September timeframe, September, October, and will probably be a big part of the kind of business taxation debate throughout the fall. I think that will kind of complete the year as far as the governor's looking at it in terms of the business climate for Michigan and improving it.
Is that an aggressive year?
I think by any measure, it's more aggressive than anybody thought this governor would be. I mean,
Really?
we're dealing with a guy who had no experience in politics, no
Yeah.
experience in governing, and he's probably done more in the shortest period of time that any of us up here can ever remember.
But I think we really expected that. When you run the table, as the Republicans did, we're fortunate enough to do, I think we all expected movement very quickly and large change to be on. We just haven't had this happen, but I think it was very expected, particularly for those of us who found ourselves in the abject minority.
Well, and I don't
Thank
think we can overlook the legislature and their ties to this. I mean, they've been phenomenal as well.
Back in a flash.
Be sure to listen.